And I'm going to bring in a variation of this tentacle brush and show you just a couple more features. So I'm going to go to Load Tool. I'm going to grab this tool called Snakeheads. So just like the tentacle brush I made, it's almost exactly the same type, except instead of a blank area, I'm putting a snakehead. And I'm going to open my subtool palette. I've got 3 snakehead subtools. I'm going to turn on polyframe, and I'm going to hit the expose button so you can kind of see what's going on here. So I've got 1, 2, 3 subtools, each with their own poly groups. So we've got the head, the middle repeating part, and then the ends on each of these. So I'm going to go ahead and unexpose them. And again, the last part of my stroke, I actually want to be the snakehead, so I'm going to make sure the snakehead's pointing downwards. I'm going to hit B, and then I'm going to do, instead of doing create insert mesh, I now have the ability to do a create insert multi-mesh because I have multiple subtools over there. So I can actually hit that instead, and now with this multi-mesh brush, let's go ahead and grab a cube so I can demonstrate it. Drag a cube out, go into edit mode, and make it polymesh 3D. So now with our snakehead brush over here, if I drag this out, I'm dragging out snakeheads. Now if I hit the M key, that's actually going to allow me to go and pick and choose what kind of my multi-mesh insert that I want to choose. So if I want to do the tongue one with the tongue out, I can do that. Or I can hit M and choose the one with his mouth open or closed or with his tongue out, and just drag that on. However, I just don't want to drag out snakeheads, I want to actually make snakes. So of course I've got to go over here to my stroke palette and turn on my curve mode. And now when I draw this out, it's actually going to draw out a snake. Just like the tentacle brush that we just made, you can make the snake bigger or smaller. And you can go here and edit the curves. Another cool function, so if now he's a snake with the mouth open. If I hit the M key and I want to draw the one with the tongue, all I have to do is select it and then tap it, and it'll update to the snake with the tongue. And I can keep dragging that out, and it's always going to be the snake with the tongue. However, let's say I want to randomize, I want to cycle through these snakes. I'm doing a Medusa head, and I just kind of want to randomize the snakes a little bit more. If I go down here to the brush menu, and right where it says this multi-mesh selector right over here, if I put that to 1, it's actually going to step through and cycle. So as I click through, if I keep tapping this guy to update him, oops, let's make the snake a little bit bigger so you can see. As I tap him, he's going to update, he's going to cycle through the different snakeheads I have. So we've got mouth open, mouth closed, tongue out. If I want to cycle through them backwards, I can change it to 2. I can do mouth closed, mouth open, and tongue out. So let's say I like the guy with the tongue out, so I'm going to tap and go ahead and freeze him there, and I'm going to draw another snake. And this is the one with his tongue out. I'm going to tap him, and he's going to be with his mouth open. I'm going to tap and go ahead and freeze him in there. I'm going to drag another snake out. And this is with his tongue out, so it's cycling through. If I want to randomize it, I can go over here to the multi-mesh selector and hit 3. And then, as I'm updating my snakes, it's just going to pick a random snake head. So I can go ahead and go ahead and lock those in, lock them in, and it'll just drag out random snake heads as I go. And of course, if I just want to choose whichever one I select when I hit M, and not have it cycle through or pick a random one for me, I can just drop that back down to 0, and it'll always be the snake head that I choose. And also, if I want to make these snakes a little bit smoother, turn that curve res up to 5, and now we've got a nice smooth snake. And this behaves just like any other curve brush. You can modify the snake here. And if you want to change the angle of his body, you can just wait for that rubber band to pop out, and you can drag these over here. So again, you have the full functionality of all the curves, and you can make them a soft curve and taper them out however you want to. But it also has the functionality of the multi-mesh insert that allows you to pick and choose which snakehead you want to use. And one more cool new feature. I'll go ahead and clear my canvas, and I'm going to drag out a cylinder, make it a polymesh 3D, and I'm going to go ahead and hold down Control-Shift, hold down Alt, and we're going to get rid of these caps so you can actually see through the mesh here. So just a cylinder with no caps. I'm going to go down here to Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. And we're going to use this as our next insert brush. I'm going to hit B, Create Insert Mesh, and it's going to ask me if I want to append this to the brush that I'm already using. So you can actually update your pre-existing insert mesh brush, or you can make a new one. In this case, I'm going to make a new one. Of course, the very first thing you need to do when you make a new insert brush is go up here. If you want to make it a curve brush, turn on curve mode, drag that out. And so we've got our cylinders here being dragged out along the line, which you can manipulate as always. And that's pretty cool, but the really cool thing is if we go down here to the brush modifiers and turn on weld points and then update our stroke here, it'll actually go through and ZBrush will figure out how to weld all of these points together. So now we have one continuous mesh that if we turn off polyframe and hold down shift, you can actually smooth all these points because now they're all welded. So that's a really cool feature. And of course you still have everything available to you, like curve res. We'll turn that up to 3. Kind of smooth that curve out. You can make your brush size bigger, smaller. You can go over here, let's go back up to the stroke menu, and we'll turn on size. And we still have our curve fall off, so if I click this end will always be big and this end will always be small, no matter how I'm adjusting the curve. And we'll go ahead and go down here to the brush modifiers, and we'll turn this max bend angle down to 0. So it'll be a little bit more wavy here, not so curly. And we'll go back up. And if I want to change this so that this end is small and the other end is big, what I can do is flip this fall off around. So that's a cool new function. And again, if I hold down shift, all these verts are welded. So you're good to go if you want to make this one continuous organic mesh. Let's do one more quick example here. Let's go and grab a cylinder 3D. And while it's still a polymesh primitive, I'm going to go down here to the masking menu under mask by alpha. I'm going to hold down control and click to mask this object. Under select I'm going to hit 3, and under skip I'm going to hit 3. Then I'm going to hit the row button over here. We'll go up to deformation. Oops, didn't want to hit optimize. We'll go to deformation and we'll inflate to give this some ribbing. Clear our mask. Let's make it a polymesh 3D. Let's turn on polyframe so we can see what we're doing here. I'm going to hold down control shift. Let's go ahead and get rid of this cap all the way up to that point. And we'll get rid of this cap as well. And we'll go ahead and grab that little ring back. So we want to get rid of these two end caps here. Control Shift drag to invert our visibility. Under geometry, I'm going to go to delete hidden. So now we've got our hose here. So I'm going to hit B, create insert mesh, new. And of course the first thing I want to do is create curve mode. Drag that out. And we want to weld this. We're going to go back down to brush modifiers and turn on weld points. And give us a nice ribbed hose that we can use. And another cool thing you can do that ZBrush will figure out is to hit W, hold down Control Shift and drag out a copy here. And just for the heck of it, let's go ahead and scale this one down a bit so we can tell the difference between them. And if I hit B, create insert mesh with this one, we'll go ahead and make a new one. And since it's a new insert mesh, we got to turn on curve mode and weld points. Now when I drag this one out, it's actually going to figure out which mesh to weld to the other one. So it's going to say, okay, the small one needs to be welded to the small one, and the big one needs to be welded to the big hose. So we got a double ribbed hose that we can use in any number of ways. And let's say we like this brush. So let's go ahead and grab our cube 3D, make it a polymesh, and with our new brush selected, let's go ahead and drape our hose on that mesh, just for kind of showing it off here. And let's turn our curve res up to like 3. I'll smooth it out just a tad. And since we have bend and snap on, we can actually go in here and modify this curve, and it'll snap to the underlying surface. So we'll go ahead and frame this object so we can see it. And let's go ahead and get rid of our stroke palette over here. We don't need that anymore. So we're going to show our brush palette here. First thing I want to do is go ahead and make an icon for this. So I'm going to hold Alt and click Select Icon, and that'll throw whatever I have here on the canvas into its icon. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's this new Edit Brush Credit button. Go ahead and hit that. And you can go ahead and type your name and a website if you want to. So that's if you post it on Pixelogic or give it to your friends, or if somebody comes across your brush ever, they can look for that brush credit and maybe go to your website and get any more cool brushes you might have made in the meantime. So go ahead and hit OK. And of course our last step is going to be Save As. If you want to save this brush out, we'll call this Double Pipe 02. And depending on where you save this brush, for example, if you go here to your program files, Pixelogic, whatever version of Pixelogic ZBrush you're running, and then Z Startup Brush Presets, if you put it in there, what it's going to do is every time you load up ZBrush, that brush will always appear in this brush menu. However, if you put it in Pixelogic, whatever version ZBrushes, where that's going to show up is if I hit this comma key, bring up our light box, go to the brush area right here, you can put a folder in here full of whatever brushes. For example, I have a zombie folder in here that has all my zombie brushes. So just something to keep in mind as you're kind of organizing your brushes and deciding where to put them. And so now that you can make and save your own insert curve brushes, I think that's about it. So thanks for watching, and I hope that was helpful learning the basics of the insert curve brush. And please continue, as always, to check back for more instructional videos on pixelogic.com.